Between December 1968 and October 1969, Northern California was terrorized by a series of brutal attacks attributed to an unidentified assailant known as the Zodiac Killer. The confirmed victims include David Faraday, 17, and Betty Lou Jensen, 16, shot and killed on December 20, 1968, on Lake Herman Road near Benicia. On the cold night of December 20, 1968, the lives of two teenagers, David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen, were tragically cut short on Lake Herman Road near Benicia, California. Their story, marked by youthful innocence and unfulfilled promise, became the first confirmed chapter in the chilling saga of the Zodiac Killer. David Faraday, a 17-year-old Eagle Scout and varsity wrestler, and Betty Lou Jensen, a 16-year-old honor student, were on their first date. They had planned to attend a Christmas concert, but instead drove to a secluded turnout on Lake Herman Road, a known lover's lane. Around 11:15 p.m., an assailant approached their vehicle, fired into it to force them out, and then shot David once in the head at point-blank range. Betty Lou attempted to flee but was shot 5 times in the back, dying instantly. The crime scene was discovered shortly after the murders by a local resident. Investigators found bullet casings from a .22 caliber weapon and noted that there was no evidence of robbery or sexual assault. The brutality and apparent randomness of the attack shocked the community and left authorities baffled. Law enforcement agencies conducted extensive interviews and collected physical evidence, including shell casings and footprints. Despite these efforts, no immediate suspects were identified. The case remained unsolved until the Zodiac Killer claimed responsibility in a letter sent to the San Francisco Chronicle in July 1969, stating, "This is the murderer of the 2 teenagers last Christmas at Lake Herman." The murders of David and Betty Lou marked the beginning of the Zodiac Killer's reign of terror in Northern California. Despite numerous investigations and public interest, the killer's identity remains unknown. The senselessness of the crime and the youth of the victims continue to haunt those who remember that fateful night. Key pieces of evidence include the .22 caliber shell casings found at the scene and the footprints leading away from the victim's car. The Zodiac Killer's later correspondence provided additional, albeit cryptic, information linking him to the crime. However, despite these clues, no definitive evidence has led to the identification or capture of the killer. The tragic deaths of David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen remain a poignant reminder of lives lost too soon and a mystery that continues to elude resolution. Another attack was on Darlene Ferrin, 22, and Michael Mageau, 19, attacked on July 4, 1969, at Blue Rock Springs Park in Vallejo. Ferrin died, but Mageau survived. On the night of July 4, 1969, a serene evening in Vallejo, California, turned tragic for 22-year-old Darlene Ferrin and 19-year-old Michael Mageau. Their encounter with an unknown assailant at Blue Rock Springs Park became the Zodiac Killer's second confirmed attack, leaving a lasting impact on the community. Darlene Ferrin, a waitress and mother, picked up her friend Michael Mageau around 11:30 p.m. They decided to visit Blue Rock Springs Park, a known spot for young couples seeking privacy. After parking, they were approached by a man who, without warning, opened fire on them. Darlene was shot multiple times and succumbed to her injuries, while Michael survived despite being shot 4 times. Shortly after the attack, a call was made to the Vallejo Police Department by an individual claiming responsibility for the shooting, as well as the previous year's murders of David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen. The caller provided details about the crime scene, indicating knowledge only the perpetrator would possess. Michael Mageau, despite his injuries, provided a description of the attacker. A white male, approximately 26 to 30 years old, around 5 feet 8 inches tall, with a stocky build and light brown curly hair. Investigators collected shell casings from the scene and gathered testimonies, but the case remained unsolved. The Zodiac Killer's identity remains one of America's most enduring mysteries. Despite numerous suspects and extensive investigations, no definitive conclusions have been reached. The killer's cryptic letters and ciphers continue to baffle experts and enthusiasts alike. Ballistics. Shell casings from a 9mm Luger were recovered at the scene. Eyewitness account. Michael Mageau's description provided crucial information about the assailant's appearance. Phone call. The anonymous call to the police shortly after the attack linked this crime to the Zodiac Killer. The tragic events of that night remain a somber reminder of the lives affected by the Zodiac Killer's actions. On the September 27, 1969, another form of attack was carried out in a serene afternoon at Lake Berryessa in Napa County, California, turned into a harrowing ordeal for college students Brian Hartnell, 20, and Cecilia Shepard, 22. Their encounter with a masked assailant became one of the most chilling episodes attributed to the Zodiac Killer. While picnicking on a secluded area of Lake Berryessa, Hartnell and Shepard were approached by a man wearing a black executioner-style hood with clip-on sunglasses over the eye holes and a bib-like device on his chest bearing a white cross-circle symbol. He claimed to be an escaped convict from Montana seeking money and a car to flee to Mexico. The assailant bound both victims with pre-cut lengths of plastic clothesline. After securing them, he drew a knife and stabbed Hartnell 6 times and Shepard 10 times. Following the attack, the assailant hiked approximately 500 yards to Hartnell's car, where he used a black felt-tip pen to draw the cross-circle symbol on the door and inscribed the dates of his previous attacks along with the current one, noting the time and method: Vallejo/12-20-68/7-4-69/September 27-69-6:30 by knife. After the assailant departed, Shepard, despite her injuries, managed to untie Hartnell, who then sought help. A man and his son fishing nearby heard their cries and alerted authorities. At 7:40 p.m., a call was made to the Napa County Sheriff's Office from a pay telephone located a few blocks from the station. The caller, speaking in a low, monotone voice, stated, "I want to report a murder. No, a double murder. They are 2 miles north of park headquarters." They were in a white Volkswagen Carmen Ghia. The phone was found off the hook shortly after, and a still wet palm print was lifted, though it did not match any known suspects. Both victims were transported to Queen of the Valley Hospital in Napa. Shepard was conscious upon arrival and provided a detailed description of the attacker before lapsing into a coma. She died 2 days later. Hartnell survived and recounted the ordeal to investigators. The Napa County Sheriff's Department collected evidence from the scene, including footprints believed to be from military-style boots and the writing on the car door. Despite these efforts, the assailant, later confirmed to be the Zodiac Killer, remained unidentified. The Lake Berryessa attack marked a departure from the Zodiac Killer's previous methods, showcasing a more personal and brutal approach. The use of a costume and the act of stabbing, rather than shooting, added layers of complexity to the killer's profile. Despite the detailed descriptions provided by the survivors and the evidence collected, the Zodiac Killer's identity remains unknown, and the case continues to intrigue and horrify to this day. Victim testimonies. Hartnell's detailed account and Shepard's description before her death provided crucial information about the assailant's appearance and behavior. A physical evidence, footprints from military-style boots and the writing on Hartnell's car door linked the attack to the Zodiac Killer. A phone call. The anonymous call to the Napa County Sheriff's Office, reporting the crime and providing specific details, further connected the incident to the Zodiac Killer. Despite these pieces of evidence, the Zodiac Killer was never apprehended, and the case remains open. The attack on Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard stands as a grim testament to the Zodiac Killer's reign of terror in Northern California. The brutality of the crime, combined with the killer's taunting communications, has left an indelible mark on the annals of American criminal history. On the night of October 11, 1969, a young man identified as Paul Stein, a 29-year-old San Francisco cab driver and graduate student, became the Zodiac Killer's final confirmed victim. This brazen murder in the upscale Presidio Heights neighborhood shocked the city and remains one of the most chilling chapters in the Zodiac's reign of terror. At approximately 9:55 p.m., Paul Stein picked up a fare at the intersection of Mason and Geary Streets in downtown San Francisco. The passenger requested a ride to Washington and Maple Streets in Presidio Heights. For reasons unknown, Stein drove 1 block further to Washington and Cherry Streets. There, the passenger shot Stein once in the head with a 9mm semi-automatic pistol, killing him instantly. The assailant then took Stein's wallet and car keys and tore off a portion of his blood-stained shirt. He was seen wiping down the cab before walking away from the scene. 3 teenagers across the street witnessed the aftermath of the shooting and called the police at 9:55 p.m. They observed the suspect wiping the cab and provided a description. A white male, 25 to 30 years old, 5 feet 8 inches to 5 feet 9 inches, stocky build, reddish-brown hair in a crew cut, wearing heavy-rimmed glasses and dark clothing. Responding officers Don Falk and Eric Zelms, acting on a miscommunication that described the suspect as black, passed a white male matching the correct description but did not stop him. This error allowed the killer to escape. Initially treated as a routine robbery homicide, the case took a sinister turn when, on October 13, 1969, the San Francisco Chronicle received a letter from the Zodiac Killer. The letter included a piece of Stein's blood-stained shirt, confirming the killer's claim. This revelation linked the murder to the Zodiac and intensified the investigation. Investigators collected fingerprints from the cab and developed a composite sketch based on eyewitness accounts. Despite these efforts, the killer's identity remained elusive. The murder of Paul Stein stands out as the Zodiac's only confirmed killing within San Francisco city limits and his only known victim who was not a couple. The killer's boldness in committing the crime in a populated area and his subsequent taunting of the police added to the case's notoriety. Despite extensive investigations and numerous suspects over the years, the Zodiac Killer was never apprehended. Eyewitness accounts: 3 teenagers provided a detailed description of the suspect, leading to a composite sketch. Physical evidence: bloody fingerprints were recovered from the cab, and a portion of Stein's shirt was sent to the Chronicle by the killer. Police encounter: officers unknowingly encountered the suspect shortly after the murder, but did not detain him due to a miscommunicated description. Despite these pieces of evidence, the Zodiac Killer's identity remains unknown, and the case continues to intrigue and haunt investigators and the public alike. The killer claimed responsibility for these crimes and others, asserting in letters that he had murdered up to 37 individuals. The Zodiac Killer's crimes were marked by a chilling pattern: communication with media. He sent a series of taunting letters to local newspapers, including the San Francisco Chronicle, San Francisco Examiner, and Vallejo Times-Herald. These letters often began with the phrase, "This is the Zodiac speaking," and included cryptic ciphers. For cryptograms were sent. 2 have been solved, revealing disturbing messages about his pleasure in killing and collecting victims as slaves for the afterlife. Evidence: in one instance, the killer mailed a piece of Paul Stein's bloody shirt to the Chronicle, confirming his involvement in the murder. Law enforcement agencies, including the FBI and local police departments, launched extensive investigations. Numerous individuals were scrutinized, with Arthur Lee Allen being a prominent suspect. However, no conclusive evidence linked him to the crimes. The forensic challenges: the lack of advanced forensic technology at the time hindered the collection and analysis of evidence. A public involvement: amateur detectives and cryptography enthusiasts have continued to study the case, contributing to the partial decryption of the ciphers. The Zodiac Killer's identity remains one of the most enduring mysteries in American criminal history. Unsolved ciphers: 2 of the 4 ciphers sent by the killer have never been decoded, leaving potential clues undiscovered. Disputed victim count: while 5 murders are confirmed, the killer claimed to have taken 37 lives, a number that has not been substantiated. A cessation of communication: the Zodiac's letters ceased in 1974, and no further confirmed attacks have been linked to him since. Key pieces of evidence in the case include letters and ciphers. The killer's correspondence provides insight into his psyche and methods. Physical evidence: the swatch of Paul Stein's shirt sent to the Chronicle is one of the few tangible links to the killer. Eyewitness accounts: survivors Michael Mageau and Brian Hartnell provided descriptions that aided in creating composite sketches. Despite these leads, the Zodiac Killer was never apprehended, and the case remains open. The Zodiac Killer case continues to captivate the public imagination, symbolizing the challenges of criminal investigations and the dark allure of unsolved mysteries.